Rise and shine, beautiful beings, on this glorious, sunny, warm morning here in Oxfordshire, UK. I'm back in the Wychwood forest. I thought I would turn my camera around to landscape view today so you could get more of a view of the glorious, glorious trees and ivy and all the wild herbs and plants and flowers that live in here. Hopefully you can hear the birds, and yeah, so there are lots of different entrances to the Wychwood forest. It is a huge expanse of ancient forest here in northwest Oxfordshire. There's a couple of entrances which I can access from walking from my house, which is generally what I like to do so I don't have to get into my car. But there are a couple of other entrances which are a short drive away, and those give access to deeper, more magical parts of the forest. Well, they're all magical, so I'll let you know when I drive into those other parts of the forest as well. But this is a different part of the forest to the last video that I posted. You can see behind me, it's just an expanse of green. It's so wild and unkept in here. I love it. And it's just this beautiful June morning today where we've got the sunlight splinters coming in through the leaves and the trees. So it's a blessing to be here this morning, to be sharing this video with you too. And I'm very excited that we're in the month of the summer solstice, one of my favourite wheel of the year celebrations, because it's bursting with life and sunshine and joy and celebration. It has that feeling of freedom in the air. Oh, I nearly tripped then. Just show you these beautiful trees behind me. Let's see if we can get up to the top of them. They tower pretty high up there, and you get that gorgeous shadowy layered effect of all of the leaves and the branches. And I felt called to talk and walk today, and oh, there was a squirrel behind me. I didn't know what it was. I felt called to talk a little bit on inner child healing today and the relevance of it in terms of cycles and darkness and light and healing in general. And some of you may have joined my Mystic Hearts online workshop a couple of weeks ago, where we did some very brief diving into inner child healing, but we did a quantum meditation for inner child healing, which was quite powerful. I'm actually going to repost that as a meditation on its own for anyone that wants to experience it, and I'm going to find a spot today here in the woods where I can do it. So we've got the healing sounds of the forest behind. The birds are just loving this summery weather. So yeah, I wanted to talk about the importance of inner child healing and what it means to me as well. And in the last couple of years, I would say that I've had a slight existential crisis, as I'm sure a lot of people have had, you know, in the aftermath of 2020 and all of the madness and lies and manipulation that happened then. Yeah, have had a bit of an existential crisis of really being a passionate yoga teacher and going down that path, and then always finding myself after many years, probably about 15 years now, I've been on a spiritual journey of awakening and really dancing between the dark and the light, and moving forwards and then feeling like I moved backwards, and always coming back to this space of yearning to remember why I came here, remember the mission that I chose, and remembering the mission and the magic that I'm here in this lifetime to fulfill. So always coming back to this space, and always feeling like teaching yoga is a beautiful tool and an incredible ancient structure and lifestyle, and just amazing to support a spiritual journey and a health journey, but it's always felt like it's not complete for me. And it was recently that I've made some big life changes and shifts and choices. I think I'm just going to go and sit down for a little bit while I talk to you. The bird song is really, really pretty over here, so I think I'm just going to sit and have the birds in the background while I speak. Also, to be completely honest, it's making my arm a bit sore to walk and talk holding it. So yeah, I received an incredible healing ceremony, which I've spoken about in some of my recent videos, and it was a womb healing ceremony, but specifically to help support me in this transition and shift that I'm going through in my life. And it ended up being a surprise, deep inner child healing. I've never met my father, so of course the majority of the wounds and the patterns that I've faced in my life have been revolved around my lack of a relationship to a male role model and figure, and how that's affected the relationship with my mum and the women in my family, so on and so forth. And there was a deep inner child healing, and that's a whole nother video. But it's like this deep remembering of what I loved as a child, and it's almost like the pain and the trauma and the patterns and the lies that we tell ourselves to keep ourselves safe get in the way of what we really love and what excites us. And this leads me on to talking a little bit about the darkness, because going back into this inner child healing, a couple of the things that I saw was like, I've been a witch in many lifetimes, and there is a strong witch bloodline in my family. So that was a confirmation and a remembering of like, you can't avoid this because it's reality. And remembering that witches are labelled as wicked or evil, but evil is an intention. It is not a thing or a person. It is the intention behind an action. It is the intention behind it. So there can be, evil anyone. So there was that, but then there was also this deep remembering that the happiest times of my life are when I was going to heavy metal concerts, listening to rock music and dark, dressing up in black. And I was a makeup artist as well, and I would do special effects. A makeup artist as dark elves and all of these like dark fantasy creations. And one of the realizations was that I had pushed that out of my life because of some belief system, or perhaps even a collective belief system that had sort of collected over time, that darkness is evil, which of course is not true at all. And just remembering like how much the most passion and joy and excitement that I can remember as a child was when I was in my room, staying up really late at night, like way past my bedtime, drawing elves and fantasies. I would write stories and do artwork, and I would just look up at, like, when we first had computers, those old school like dial-in computers. I was lucky enough to have one in my room. I was probably about age 11, and I would stay up for hours just getting lost in artwork and fantasy worlds of darkness. Yeah, so it was this remembering of that, and remembering that that is a part of me and my soul blueprint and what sets my heart ablaze. And it might not be someone else's flavour and cup of tea, and that's okay. And something that I wanted to share about rock music and heavy metal in particular has got this real reputation, especially from people, you know, who don't listen to the music or don't connect to it. It's got this reputation of like evil, devil worshippers. But actually, when you listen to a lot of the lyrics from heavy metal music, they're talking about pain and a lot of quite deep spiritual concepts. There's a lot of anarchy in there. So it's the most beautiful way of releasing sacred rage. And what is evil about screaming? What is evil about expressing the pain of our hearts? For me, there is nothing evil about that. It is deeply, deeply necessary and healing. Especially in the world that we're in at the moment, which sits in this strange place of bypassing and people being so sensitive that you can't even have an open-hearted or even slightly critical conversation without people getting triggered. Whereas when I was growing up, like, the songs on the radio were inspiring and activating, and there was this real sense of togetherness and humanity. So yeah, and I've been having this real cool and real connection to the goddess Hecate recently, probably for the last year. I keep seeing the symbols of the triple moon and the triple moon goddess, and again, isn't that such an interesting symbolism when we think of the moon? Would we call the moon evil? I can't think of any particular reason why the moon is evil. Some people may choose to believe that. The moon just is, right? The moon is powerful. We can feel the power that the moon holds over the waters on our planet. So she's extremely powerful, very bright. She holds a lot of lightness, but also the moon embodies every single stage, from the darkest of darks to the brightest of lights. She holds that balance and harmony of darkness and light. And for me, that makes so much more sense, to be able to balance and harmonize both darkness and light, than just seeking the light, seeking enlightenment. What is that? Is it just an endless quest that will end up in lack of fulfillment and ego inflation? Who knows? I'm just throwing things out there. But from my experience and my own experience, you know, I have been on a path of seeking the light, extreme sobriety and veganism, and found myself in quite a judgmental place. And I have met a lot of people who are on the path of light, you know, wanting to just elevate higher and higher and higher. But they are actually quite evil people. They do evil deeds because they have not harmonized and faced the darkness within. And if we look at darkness as a path of healing, what can we find in the darkness? Well, in the darkness, we can grow strength. In the darkness, we can face the inner caverns of ourself, which can bring us to places of fear and discomfort and deep emotional pain, but the strength, the courage, the fierceness, the passion and the wisdom that can be gained through these experiences of treading into the darkness, not fearful of it and not seeing it as evil, but seeing it as a holy part of our beings, can be very powerful. And the light, of course, the light, it's healing, it's vibrational, it's love, creation. But what is that without strength, without passion and fierceness? Just something to think about. And there are some interesting spiritual teachings. I like to explore different religions, different spiritual teachings, the old ways, the new ways. I'm interested in it all. And there are some teachings which say that God can be found in the deepest darkness of the void and also in the brightest of lights. And I completely resonate with that. And we are in a world of dualities. Everything came from creation, both the darkness and the light. And there are perhaps beings on this planet who we would consider to be evil, or would consider to be workers or forces of evil and dark. And I do believe that, but I also believe that they are just doing what they're doing because they're hungry for the darkness, they're hungry for power, hungry for pain. But we don't have to be that way. Power and wisdom and a grounded sense of humanness comes from recognizing both as an innate part of our being. And it becomes exciting again, knowing that those things that we love that maybe seem a bit naughty or a bit unpopular with the status quo, that's what makes us authentic and special. And realizing that your path, my path, everyone's individual path is sacred and is right for each of us. There is no one way, there is no one size that fits all. You know, for me, trees and elves and darkness excite me. For someone else, you know, it could be going to temples and praying. We are all walking a holy and divine path. No one is right, no one is wrong. But when we start trying to, and I'm speaking from experience because I have done this myself, when we are trying to act and be and embody a certain way of being that is to fit into someone else's box, or to try and be spiritual, we are betraying ourselves and our heart and our true path. And equally, when we judge others or we look down upon others because they are walking a path that is different to us, we are betraying them. So I just invite you to, just think about that. Think about the path that you're on. By the way, everyone is on a spiritual path, whether you are conscious of it or not, whether you want to be or not. Being human is a very spiritual experience. And just asking you to consider if what you're doing is what you've been told you should do, or if you're doing it because you think people will respect you for doing it, or Are you doing it because it excites you and brings you joy? I've never felt more magical than I do when I've got my elf ears on, I'm dressed up in beautiful clothes, I'm in the forest, in my happy place, looking like a complete crazy woman. This is where I feel my most free, my most powerful, my most holy, divine and magical. Nature is my church. I invite you to find where your church is. So I hope you enjoyed this rant. I had no idea where this conversation was going to go today. I'm coming to the end of this part of the forest now, so giving love and thanks to the forest and the forest spirits, giving thanks to my heart and giving thanks to you, everyone who watches this video. Let me know where you would like to see me walking for the next video, and if there's anything you'd like me to talk about. I would absolutely love some topic suggestions. Sending you so much love. May your week be filled with blessings, abundance, resources and joy.